Okay, what is the delimitation of our study? First of all, we need to understand the delimitation of the study is the scope of the study. It is also known as the scope of the study. Please do not confuse it with another heading that is there in the paper in a thesis, which is known as the limitations of the study. That is a different thing. This is a different thing. So here we are only talking about the delimitation of the study. Now, delimitation is also known as scope of the study. What is a scope of the study, or what is the scope of something? Actually, when you're telling that, when you're telling your aim of the study that this is what you want to do, fine, we understand that, but you also have to tell the reader that what are your boundaries, what is the scope of your study. Your study is not going out of what parameters. For example, sometimes we write in our study that uh, the study of advertising agencies in Pakistan. Fine, fine, it is Pakistan, but we are talking about Pakistan, which is a bigger population. But what we are doing, we are actually collecting data from, suppose we are collecting data from Islamabad and Rawalpindi. These are two cities of Pakistan. Although it has number of advertising agencies, but still you are going to tell the reader this is the scope of my study in terms of data collection, that I'm only collecting data from the Rawalpindi and Islamabad advertising people. So what you're doing, you are telling the boundaries of your research, or you're telling the scope of your research, or you're telling what do you mean by Pakistan. Then you also need to give your understanding of the variable that you are studying. Why? Because different words have different meanings for different people. So what you can do is you can tell the reader that, for example, here I've written this income. If you are interested in analyzing the role of income with something, fine, income is a word, but income is a qualitative word and it does not have the same meaning for everyone. For example, for me, because I'm doing a job, salary is my income. For somebody who's doing a business, maybe business is the income. For somebody who's farming, so the money coming from the farming is the business, the income. So that means this income word, if I'm using this word in my research, I need to tell the reader that by this I mean only salary, not other forms of income. Then, if I'm using a word, for example, workers of PIA, and my study is only focusing on the female workers, I need to tell the reader that my study is focusing on the workers of PIA, right? But I'm only considering the female workers of the PIA, or the workers of PIA only from Islamabad and Rawalpindi. Then you're also going to tell the reader that your study is a cross-sectional data study. We'll understand this in our research methodology, but still, you need to tell them that it is a cross-sectional study, which means you collected the data at only one point of time. Or if it is a longitudinal study, you can say that it is only longitudinal study. Then you also need to tell the reader the scope of your study or the delimitation of the study. For example, you have used quantitative data, which means you have used numbers in your data. The data you have collected, for example, in Likert scale, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have analyzed your data statistically using statistical models and mathematical equations, that means you are using quantitative data. Now the reader does not know it, especially the reader who are not familiar with research. They will not have any idea that what kind of data have you collected. So you're going to tell them that this study has collected only quantitative data, data which was only in numbers. This will also show that you did not conduct any interviews, you did not conduct any special focus group, or you did not study any ethnography or any other sort of research. Then, as we already talked about, if you're using a word, for example, variable as a compensation, compensation is also a word which is used by different people differently. So you can say that you're only considering the compensation as the financial compensation. So when you're writing the delimitation of your research, you're actually writing the scope of your research and you're telling these things to the reader. So a reader who's not very much good in research, or even if somebody is good in research, they should have a clear idea that what is your study not about, which may be reflected by your words and by your title and by these things, but you're just going to clarify that these are the delimitation of my study, that these are the limits that I set for myself while I was conducting my research. So this is the concept of delimitation.